Hey folks, welcome back to the Mrrshan Pouncers playthrough on Master of Orion 1 Impossible difficulty. And here we are at a pretty pivotal point of the game. We're right after the 24-25 council vote, which was still between the Silicoids and the Sakura, thankfully. Here's a map to kind of show where we are in the game. We got the Silicoids down here with, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10 planets, although this one's about to be bombed out again. They were able to sneak a colony ship back there to recolonize it, but I'm about to bomb that back out. And they do have some transports heading up to this former colony of theirs that I pounced on, but I'm going to shoot those down. Don't worry about that. Speaking of which, let's count the planets that I've acquired through early game pouncing, either with just laser ships or nuke bombers. It would be, let's see, this one right here was the first one, the ultra rich, that was pivotal. Then this one I had to use nuke bombers for. This one I used nuke bombers for. And this one I was able to just send transports over immediately because they had no fleet escorting their colony ship, and it was right in my front lines. So that's 4 planets. The rest I settled peacefully. So like I said, you still need to, make room for some peaceful expansion in between your military buildup and your focusing on military techs. But we definitely went a little more military heavy than I'm used to early on in the game, and I think it's paid off. We got, let's see, Battle Computer 4, Planetary Shield 5 from this capture. We got Improved Industrial 6 from this capture here. And of course, at the very early beginning of the game, like the first 20 turns, we got nuclear engines and Hyper-V rockets from capturing this planet, which was huge. I mean, nuclear engines that early in the game are just do so much damage to the AI, it's not even funny, right? So now, basically at this point in the game, staked my the rest of my strategy on an alliance with the Bullrathi. So it's going to be me and the Bullrathi versus the world. And I'm hoping by getting soil enrichment online and acquiring a few more planets, I will have enough population together with the Bullrathi to have a veto block in the council vote. Now I don't know there are a couple of risks with this strategy. One is that I don't know exactly how many votes the Sakura are going to have. I don't have contact with them yet. They're somewhere over here. They have quite a few stars they can play with. I don't know how many of these they've actually colonized, or how many they can colonize. If they have the controlled environment techs in their tree, or if all these are some of these might be asteroids. So no telling how much their population will grow over these next 25 turns unless I get contact with them, which doesn't look too likely in the immediate future. So that's a slight risk with the strategy of allying with the Bullrathi. Also, I mean, there is always the slight possibility that the diplomat assassination event, I suppose, could trigger with the Bullrathi. I think that's possible, even if you're allied with them, in which case they would instantly become my enemy. My contingency plan in that case would be to try to quickly make peace with the Sakura, or not with the Sakura, with the Alkari and the Klakons, because the only reason I'm at war with them is to honor the Bullrathi alliance, and otherwise they would love me because I've been bombing the Silicoids like crazy, and I could probably swing a peace treaty with them and get them to at least abstain from a vote between me and the Sakura, or even vote for me possibly, because I think they might be at war with the Sakura. The Sakura, pretty much everyone hates them. The Silicoids, everyone hates them. And apparently now everyone hates the Bullrathi, and everyone hates me. And there's a lot of war going on in this galaxy, which is good for the human player. Usually it's better, for all-out war rather than there's an AI love fest. So I've gotten a little bit fortunate there. Some of these early rivalries between the AIs have kicked off. But that's where we are. That's our strategy going forward. I want to capture a few more planets, Preferably maybe this silicoid world right here, and maybe one of these Clacon worlds. If I can do that and boost my population at the existing planets, and maybe, I think I either already gave soil enrichment tech to the Bulrathi, or I'm about to. I forget exactly which one. But that will help them boost their population too, which is what I want, because they're going to vote for me, right? They have an alliance with me. So that's my strategy going forward. So let's take a look at where we are. The silicoids are trying to reinforce Boötis with transports, but they are not going to get through my neutron Pelican fighters. The Clacons have now sent... This is actually their force that they've been sitting on and building up. Not much of one, just some neutron Pelican fighters and a missile ship right here. Firing some Stinger missiles, which is decent, but only has one rack of that. So not a big deal. And my fighters are going to beat their fighters just because mine are so much more nimble, higher evade and higher attack level than theirs. So this is going to be pretty much a complete wipeout. And they did retreat with one. Sakura cure their plague. That's good. You can see. Actually, I don't know where this transport's headed. It might be headed to Laie. But that's going to be bombed out here pretty soon. I'm not letting them get that set up again. And here I'm sending some ships to interdict those silicoid transports that had originally been sent to reinforce Rigel back when it was briefly a silicon or silicoid colony before I pounced on it. So I'm getting missile bases up. I almost got, I've got 2 missile bases on Irana. I've got like 4 or 6 missile bases up on Boötis. So those can defend themselves now, even from those repulsor beam ships that the silicoids are running around with. And I should say running around, but more like waddling around, really, because they're all still moving at Warp 1. And that's not because the AI is being stupid. Apparently, here's my soil enrichment. Yeah, I get atmospheric terraforming going. Apparently, the AI silicoids have just gotten really bad luck, I'm guessing, with engine tech, because they just don't have anything better than retro engines. So it's not even a case of them sitting on a better engine tech and not putting it on their ships. They literally just don't have anything better to use. So that's going to really hurt them more and more in this game. So I'm getting soil enrichment queued up at all my... I've got 4 non-hostile planets that can use it. My starting 2, this ultra-rich one, and then Boötis. So that's going to boost me by about 100 population, all told. So that's a big plus. Maybe a little less than 100, but... So now I'm getting some fusion bombers in on the mix. I was using nuke bombers for my original pouncings. They're going pretty much obsolete now that silicoids are getting better shield tech. They're probably up to level 8 shields by this point, 3+5. And see here, I'm trying to bomb out their ultra-rich radiated world. And also, I would prefer if they targeted my bombers. There we go. Finally destroyed that colony again. Can't fight that. That's the repulsor ship. Thankfully, it's not attacking my planet, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, that ship can't really do anything. I can hit it with my... I've got a new shooting scooter that's using heavy blast cannons now instead of heavy lasers. So that can take pot shots, and of course the missile bases. And I don't really know if it can hurt my missile bases. So I was kind of taking a risk there, putting my large ship into jeopardy there from their heavy cannons. I'm not sure quite why I did that, to be honest. Same thing. Okay. Time to send in the cavalry. Yeah. So those small ships really wreck that design. So it's really bad evade. It doesn't have good attack level. They can't hit my small ships very well. I didn't want to take too much attrition from them, so I wanted to see how much my missile bases could whittle it down first. But yeah, finally sent in the cavalry, so to speak. So now Nitzer, I finally went ahead and built a class 5 planetary shield, and I'll get some missile bases up on it. Even though I don't think this is going to be a permanent front line. Once I clean out the clacons there, which shouldn't be too hard, now those won't really be frontline bases anymore. But it'll free up forces to put on the offense if I can stand up some missile bases there, because they are kind of probing up there with some slight attacks. Signy's still a long way from still building factories. It's been kind of a helper colony on duty for transferring population, doing some research. Hasn't really been building factories full time, and it's poor, so it's going to be a while before it's. You see how much I'm really caught up. Although those reports are about 30 years old, which I'm rectifying that now here. Do some spying on them, but from all the technology I've stolen, I'm keeping up pretty well with the AI here. Especially those races. The Clacons only have 3 planets. The Alkari have 5. So they're kind of lagging behind. They're not going to be too hard to take over. Here's a good trade I get. Automated repair system. Yeah, I'll trade them soil enrichment for that. If they want to grow their planets and give me more, more population, have at it. I can build auto repair ships now. It's going to be pretty huge. The only thing that can really hurt me here is the Stinger missile ship. Although most likely it won't fire at my planet. It would be wise actually to do that rather than fire at my ships, because it's going to have a hard time hitting my ships. Whereas it could actually hit my planet and take out a missile base there. And I'd probably have to rebuild the class 5 planetary shield too. So I'm trying to take that out ASAP. Fast forward a little bit. And they retreat after taking some losses. Alright, we get a hit on the Alkari. Get more computer tech for better spying. It's always good. Here the Alkari are again trying to attack Boeotis with over 1,500 laser fighters, which is not going to do anything against my missile bases there. Now, if they attacked Pyrenar, which I think they can reach, then it'd be another story. Then I'd pretty much have to give it away to them. But thankfully, the AI gets distracted by the closest shiny toy. So there's an updated report. So they do have a nice thing. They have Stinger missiles, which is something I'd love to have. In fact, here in a second, you're going to see me trade with the Bulrathi for Stinger missiles. So one of those sooner rather than later. My missile bases are going to be facing all these attacks, especially from the silicoids and their large ships, where it's actually relevant. So there's the yeah, all laser fighters. I just retreat all my ships and they retreat. And spies are sabotaging my missile bases, but hey, as long as they're not stealing technology, I don't really care, to be honest. Alright, so the time is ripe finally to go after Zendala. Got 168 fusion bombers, should be plenty. And I've got a nice ship to escort them that can, if need be, stand up to even repulsor beam ships safely. It'll have the initiative, it can fire and then back away 2 spaces, and that should be able to deal with that. Yeah, the Klakons have Zortrium armor too, which is pretty nice. I decided to just focus on one AI at a time, spying. Silicoids have personal absorption shield by this point. So that's going to make the ground combat a little more difficult. I've got personal deflector shield, so that's only 10, minus 10 for me, so that's not too bad. So about to get improved robotics 4. That's going to be huge for my economy, although it might kind of stall out my ship production for a little bit. Got it in the percentages. Got my bombing force en route to Zendala. The Alkari have ion drives. That would be fantastic to obtain. So here's Zendala. Not anything too frightening, to be honest. You're gonna see these fusion. Yeah, this is so obsolete. It's got Gatling lasers and heavy lasers, and horrid attack level and speed. Yeah, there it gets vaporized by my neutron pelican fighters. Yep, there we go. They do have one of those repulsor beam ships on the way, though. Looks like so. My updated shooting scooter cruiser is going to have its hands full trying to defend Zendala, defend the air superiority over there. I'm just queuing up the transport at this point. Just looking at the tech reports. Almost got improved robotics 4. Here's Zendala. They've rebuilt 2 missile bases in between turns, but nothing too crazy. Yeah, we've got improved robotics well into the percentages. Should pop any day now. So I had to scramble some fighters to defend Imra way out there on the far eastern flank, which this might look like it's not enough to do the job, but here's the thing. My fighters are so much better than theirs, and that large ship is mostly a missile ship. It only has 2 neutron pellet guns on it. So they've got 6 neutron pellet guns left. I've got 30, and I've got way better evade. So you're about to see. Yeah. See me just destroy this. I mean, they are taking some of my fighters out, but they paid much more dearly. Okay, so this was kind of a tricky battle, because the only way I could really do damage here was with my shooting scooter. And I gotta be careful in this sort of battle to not get pinned in a corner, because then it can take me out. With it's got some heavy lasers, I think, or some two-range beam weapons. As you can see, there's some heavy blast cannons, I believe. So I've got to shoot. scoot away. Actually, I think my ship has 3 moves, so that gives me some flexibility, but it's still possible to get cornered. Went ahead and retreated my bombers because they can't do anything else this round. And theoretically, my fighters can't really do anything either unless the AI makes a really dumb move. And for example, if they tried to charge into my fighters where they just were, they wouldn't be able to repulse them anywhere, and they would get hit. So this is kind of a cat and mouse game here. Some careful positioning. And thankfully, they want to go after my fighters more than my cruiser, even though the cruiser is the only thing that can reliably do damage to it. Now here's a tricky situation because I'm getting backed into a corner here. Had to think of what to do here. Decided to try to send it off. I mean, pretty much no matter what I do here, it's gonna, yeah, do damage to me. So at this point, I can actually shield myself from damage unless it wants to walk into my fighters. So that's kind of a way I can hold it at bay, kind of scoot up, do some damage, come back. Now my fighters, on the other hand, they have to just keep taking volleys. But at least this way, I can whittle it down. If they do try to charge me to try to get at my large ship, my fighters will do damage to them. So boom, there you go. That's a way to deal with that. So I got repulsor beam and personal absorption shield. Whew, lots of good stuff. Lots of good stuff from Zhendala. Alkari are sending another ridiculous fleet of mostly laser ships. It's got a few mediums in there, which might have something somewhat threatening, but I'm not too worried. Silkoids is they have a bunch of Warp 1 huge ships running around, but nothing too scary. The only one I'm really worried about is that monitor design that has the repulsor beam. And now, hey, you know, I can design my own repulsor ships, so the Alkari will cease to be a threat against Paranar, even in theory, if I just have a repulsor ship or 2 that can reliably defend that planet from their laser fighters. And that's exactly what I'm designing here, you see. This thing should be, its main job is going to be indestructible, you know, get first initiative, and then whatever other damage it can do as a shooting scooter, you know, so be it. So that's what I end up rolling with. Right now I don't have to get one to Paranar ASAP because the Alkari aren't attacking there yet. But I can always build one at the last second if it looks like they're going to try to attack. I can build another design if I wanted to have 2. See, if you have 2 repulsor beam ships standing on each side of the planet, the AI it's impossible for them to actually close with the planet until they take those 2 ships out. And to take the 2 ships out, they need 2 range weapons of some sort, or missiles or something. So that would completely safeguard me from any laser fighter ships. So they've got some heavy ion cannons and neutron blaster ships. They have incredible evade, 4 move per turn, but they can't do anything to my missile bases with the class 5 planetary shields and whatnot. So at this point, the main thing I gotta do is defend Jandala and get it built up so it can defend itself. Then I can maybe either continue conquering the Silicoids or go after the Clacons, who should be an easy target. I don't think I'd want to go after the Alkari on the offense quite yet, because I don't have class 4 shields for my ships, so all those laser fighters could be pretty nasty. Could do some nasty damage even with, I mean, with class 3 shields that would cut down quite a bit if you have enough evade to reduce their attack, level. They're only hitting 5% of the time, and then with class 3 shields against lasers, their damage is going to be cut down significantly, but it still would add up if they have 1,500 laser fighter ships. So, okay, this is a pretty uneventful battle. More shooting and scooting, going in with the cavalry. Just taking what pot shots I can. And there we go. So I'll be able to bring some reinforcements down to Zendala here in a second once those new repulsor Warcat ships come online. Get down there. Elsewhere, I'm holding pretty well. Really, at this point, the only thing that could really upset this game is if my population calculations are a little bit off. Like my calculations from having soil enrichment and maxing my existing planets' populations, and then tallying up the races that I know about, gave me a pretty firm margin, of having a veto block with my votes plus the Bullrathi. Now, as you'll see, the AI would give me a bit of a scare and come close to having a random event throw the game for me, just to cut like 1 or 2 turns before the council vote. In like 2448, they decided to have a rebellion on Signy, which apparently that population is taken away from your vote. So that was a whole council vote I lost from those 80 million that rebelled, which I was counting on that to give me more of a buffer. So, spoiler alert, I end up coming within 1 vote of losing the council vote and facing final war, but I had just enough votes between me and the Bullrathi to have a veto block. Let's see, I think it was, yeah, there were 38 votes total, and I had 13 between me and the Bullrathi, which I should have had like more like 14 or 15 without that rebellion event at the very last second. But so it should have been more of a margin of error, but as it was, ended up being very close, just barely over a third of the votes. If there had been 39 votes total, my 13 would have been exactly a third, and I would have lost. So, the fact that it was 38 votes total meant that I just barely survived. So I definitely took some attrition in this battle, but once they run out of their missiles, their ships are Pretty pathetic, to be honest. So Zendal's almost got to the point where it can get its Class 5 planetary shield finished. And I'm throwing soil enrichment in there for good measure as well. I'm kind of on the defense right now. I'm kind of rebuilding, regathering my strength, trying to stand up Zendala. You know, I've got fusion bombers. I could be going on the offense here, but the real bottleneck would be protecting the offensive force and its air superiority, because I don't quite have the ships to do that as well as I would like yet, or else I'd be going after the Silicoids and the Sakra a little more vigorously. And you see the Silicoids are now throwing some real nasty stuff at me. Like 3 huge ships are incoming. So this is not of any concern. A little clack on skirmishes. This is slightly more concerning, but it's still not a dangerous design. With now that I have my War Cat reinforcements brought up, should help. And theoretically, they could do damage to my my planet and its missile bases, you know, with their heavy blast cannons. I do believe there is some margin there of some damage they could do, although in reality it'd be very little. I'm just chipping away at it. See, there you see it attacking the planet. Now this ship I do believe has a repulsor beam, so that makes this all just a bit tricky. And it might even have auto repair too. If I recall. Now, you could probably give this thing 50 turns and it still wouldn't plink away at my missile bases. Because it wouldn't be doing much damage each round to those missile bases. But still, it's good to be able to destroy it. So now I've got improved robotic control 4. So now I'm going to have a whole round of factory construction to do to really boost my economy. Now, another way I could have made having the council veto block more surefire, you know, going into this next council vote would have been to focus more on atmospheric terraforming, put off the factory construction, you know, make sure my population was juiced to the max. But I didn't think things would be that close, and you know, I thought I had the luxury to kind of industrialize and get my economy up for the long run much more before I'd have to worry about that. So it's one reason why I ended up cutting things a little close this next council vote. Some kind of... I realized that I need some more range 2 ships, because I'm facing a lot of ships now with repulsor beams, and some of those even have auto repair, which could, you know, spell the doom of these defensive fleets that are trying to guard these new conquests. So I designed a medium ship that just packs in the bare essentials, you know, 1 2-space weapon and good engines, and it'll get a good attack level from the Mrrshan bonus, even if I don't put any battle computers on it. which is very nice. So Zendala's getting its missile bases up. As soon as it gets about 5 or 6, I'll feel pretty confident that it can fend off the latest silicoid designs. All right. Good old copy protection. So here you can see the factory construction at work, although I do kind of split Paranar into continuing to build ships, because I need some of those 2 space weapon ships ASAP as reinforcements. You know, but what happens if they bring a couple of those along? You know, could be nasty if I don't have more ships to deal with those huge silicoid repulsor beam juggernaut ships. Dancing around the missiles, and they retreat. Inconclusive battle. Here's my little patrol squadron to deny the silicoids from recolonizing some of those planets. So silicoids have a huge fleet coming in of 3 huge ships into Boötis next turn, so I'm frantically, you know, trying to build more missile bases. I think I'll have 11 there to face them, which, yeah, should be plenty, I'm guessing. Not too worried about that. Look at all those juicy factories. Now, we are 8 years away from the council vote, so I'm going to have to hope I did the math correctly. Yeah. These little clack-on attacks are just not too worrisome. So finally we're attacking, now that we've got Zendala down the south stood up on its own, we're attacking the clack-on world of Aquile, I think. It's the one that's been bordering me since the beginning of the game, and finally I'm going to take it out. It's not a very large planet, so it should be easy to invade. Yeah, it's a population of 35. And of course their actual ship-to-ship fleet is a joke, so keeping air superiority should be quite easy, actually. So took out half of the missile bases there. A repulsor ship, and there we go. Now this, let's take a look here. Let's pause it for a second and see what we're dealing with. So we've got 2 ships with auto repair. One has energy pulsar. Actually, that would make a difference if we actually sent in our MPG fighter squadron to go try and take it out. The other has repulsor beam, which flat out rules out sending in our MPG fighters. Thankfully, they're both slow as molasses, low shielding, and low hit points. Since oddly enough, the Silcoids still don't have anything better than titanium armor. They've got a really weird tech tree, this game, I gotta say. Now, one thing to watch out for is this ship does have some death spores, but with them moving so slowly, and I think I have 11 missile bases here, I'm not too worried about being able to destroy them before they get to my planet. Even with the auto repair. See, there's one down already. There it is. Just gotta kill the last one. There we go. So we've got class 3 deflectors, so our missile bases will now have 8 levels of shielding. Pretty good. Zendal's it's got 3 bases up. It'll have 4 at the beginning of next turn, so it's getting pretty secure. It's one reason why I felt like I was able to send the fleet onwards to Aquile. Now I gotta queue up the invasion of that, which thankfully that will complete before the council vote, so I'll have knocked the Clackons down a peg, and I'll I'll get more population from that, so hopefully that'll be just enough to carry the day. Fast forward a little bit. I get a little bit too cocky here and think, oh, I could. At some point, I'm like, well, I could bomb out Coldan too with these bombers I have, and pretty sure I'm going to find out I need many more bombers to take out Coldan because it's got the difference between having 12 missile bases and 40 missile bases is huge. You need probably about 4 times the number of bombers to reliably take out that latter installation of missile bases. So here I'm counting out my population, trying to see, okay, am I safe for this next council vote? You know, I know everyone else's population, pretty much aside from the Sakra. So once again, the Klakon fleets, not a big deal. Alkari fleets are of no consequence. It appears that the Alkari scrapped their previous laser fighter designs only to design a new laser fighter with possibly a little better engines and evade. I mean, good God. Sometimes the Alkari AI would be terrifying to face with its, evasion bonus if it designed better ships. But the fact that it prefers small ships, and the fact that the AI, isn't good at fitting the right stuff onto small ships with their limited space, doesn't know sometimes you need to go up to a medium ship to, use your state-of-the-art beam weapons. Just in the fact that usually repulsor beams are quite effective against the Alkari too, because they tend to prioritize the small ships, and it's hard to fit the long distance heavy beam weapons onto those ships. So there's a lot of counters to the Alkari, at least as far as the AI plays them. Now, if you're the human, you can make a special effort to avoid those design pitfalls and make sure your fleet is robust against possible countermeasures. But the AI doesn't know how to take those special precautions. So that wasn't too bad. I think I did lose one missile base there from its missiles, from its Stinger missiles, but I'm happy to take that trade. One missile base for one huge ship. I mean, the Silcoid's been replacing them left and right, but for every one that they have to replace, that's another 3,000 credits down the drain for them. So I get improved space scanner. Oh, and I also have energy pulsar. I think, where did I get that from? Forget if I traded for that. No, must have conquered it, I guess. From the Silicoids. When I conquered Zendala. Forget where I got that, actually. But hey, now I've got improved space scanner, so that makes everything more straightforward. So more pointless Klakon attacks. That do nothing. My defenses are getting pretty good. Still maxing out my factories. Going to be ready to go on another round of expansion here pretty soon. And basically, I know at this point that if I can survive this next council vote, I've got the game in the bag. You can see my momentum is, with each planet I conquer, more tech I get, pulling ahead of the AI, especially now that I got improved robotics 4. So my economy is going to be Really impressive. There's more Clack-on attacks. Silicoids are sending more of those. See, I'm looking at... I've got the highest population among the graphs I can see, but what I can't see are the silicoids. So I'm going to have to hope that they don't have enough population to challenge the veto block from me and the Bullrathies. See, there's that rebellion event I was mentioning. Signy all of a sudden goes into rebellion right before the council vote, and apparently that population no longer counts towards my empire, at least as far as the council vote is concerned, because I did the math, and I should have had like 10 votes in the council. I ended up with 8. So, I don't know. That was a little frustrating. Almost, it came close to throwing the game for me, although you could argue that I never should have made my alliance with the Bullrathi and even made it close in the first place, you know. Surely I could have just kept the Alkari and the Clack-ons on good terms instead. That would have been a safer veto block. But you never know. I mean, they could have signed up an alliance with the Sacra, you know, or they could have decided to declare war on me randomly, you know, as I got stronger. You never know. I kind of like the idea of having just a firm alliance, at least one firm alliance that I could count on, barring the crazy diplomat assassination event, and you know, just count on that. Kind of simplified the math in the game, made my strategy more straightforward from then on out. So I kind of like the idea of doing that. So you see, I'm building more of those medium neutron blast cannon ships from Paranar. I just in case the Alkari come and knock in with their fleet of laser ships, I go ahead and design an energy pulsar ship that can deal with that. And if you remember, I said earlier that I thought maybe they had scrapped those ships. Well, apparently not, because I just saw them flying back up to the north. Apparently they were on a mission down south to fight over some spud planet, you know, some hot potato planet that is bombed out. But now they were coming back to their main core. And so I wanted to have an energy pulsar ship to take them out just in case they came and knock in at Paranar or at Aquilay, especially before Aquilay. You know, if it didn't have any missile bases up yet or planetary shield, that would be, they'd be able to oust me from that orbit. So right before the council vote, I'm going to probably end it after the council vote, but I don't want to leave you quite on that sort of cliffhanger. I'll go ahead and play it out for the rest. So this was kind of a close call here. Probably wasn't enough ships to safely take out the Clack-on invaders here. Whittling each other down. Yeah, I think well, finally the 50-turn limit ended, so they had to retreat, but that was kind of a close call. So here you go, you see? Whoo! You had 25 votes out of 38. That's like 65%. Just needed one more. And the Sacra would have been, there would have been final war between me and everyone, and Sacra would have been elected. But after that, you know, the game's pretty much, yeah, the momentum is definitely in my favor now, and I'll have another 25 turns to grow my population much more with atmospheric terraforming, more planets conquered, and by that point I'm not too worried about losing the 2475 council vote, even with or without the Bullrathi's help, to be honest. So I'll go ahead and leave it off there. That's part 4 of this Pouncer challenge. We're wrapping up into the finish line here. You can definitely see the game starting to decisively turn in our favor as our invasions steadily accumulate more and more planets and technology, and we'll finish up next time on this series. See you then.